Hi, my name is Melissa, and I'm the founder of Little Black Desk Society. And I'm excited to have Stephanie with me today to talk about her mastermind experience. So, Stephanie, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and your business.
Sure. So my formal education is a registered dietitian. So I went to school, bachelor's, master's, and did kind of the normal, got into the workforce and specifically in bariatric surgery. And I really loved what I was doing, but I did have an itch to not be as confined to the traditional structure. So I started a website on the side, which grew into a membership site, which is now my primary career is my membership site for weight loss surgery patients.
I love it. So, because you did that transition and wanted to create a new environment for yourself where you can share your knowledge, what type of support were you looking for? And like, how did a mastermind become part of that?
Oh, that it's fun to think about the transition. It's been about 2 years since I was able to fully leave the clinic that I was working in. And I remember, because I'm extroverted, because I love people, it was really difficult for me to go into working from home by myself. So I was kind of binging on anything about solopreneurs that I could, any podcasts, any video, any in-person meetups. And I think along that process, I heard what a mastermind was. And I had a feeling it was a pretty good fit because I was just thirsting for some sort of connection because so few people in my life really knew what I was doing. And I didn't want to do it alone anymore.
For sure. So, what challenges were you facing at the time within your business that made you desire to join a mastermind or find one that you could be a part of?
I think on a personal level, I was struggling with the balance of it all. Naturally, my personality, which I think so many with an entrepreneurial spirit have this struggle, but I want to do everything today. I want everything done today. I want to see the results today. And that can really translate into poor work-life balance and working when you shouldn't be and stressing about things that just need to take time. So I think work-life balance is a big deal for me personally. But then that kind of overflowed into not feeling much clarity on what was important and probably starting projects that I really couldn't finish or just weren't going to be profitable. That I was just kind of going down the wrong track because it was shiny and new, but not necessarily because it was working. So that's, I think, both personal and what was overflowing into the business was just not a lot of clarity.
For sure. So, what made you to decide then to join Little Black Desk Masterminds?
Yeah, I was binging on anything about owning a business and working from home and solopreneur. And I mean, even though it's only been maybe 2 years, I still feel like it was kind of a new thing. Masterminds and solopreneurs, those are buzzwords. And I don't even know exactly how I stumbled on the Little Black Desk Society homepage. I feel like it was through a podcast and, a series of clicking. And I was so thirsty for that connection that I really didn't give it a second thought. I think I landed on the homepage and signed up right away.
Thank you.
Yeah, because it was like, this is what I'm looking for. And I've been, I want to try it and I think it's going to help. And I've never looked back. For me, it's been the best decision in my business.
How long have you been with us?
April of 2017. So the taping of this interview, that's over a year and a half.
Yeah.
Right at 18 months. Yeah.
Well, I will say having you in the mastermind has been a joy. I love the energy that you bring to the table and the conversations, and definitely the things that you mentioned earlier, the work-life balance and the clarity, the things that everyone struggle with. And
Right.
The same with wanting to do all the things and do them now And I think it's even more prevalent now just because of what we're exposed to on social media and with technology, that we have access to so many different options and information. And so having other women that are not even necessarily in our industry or field, because we don't have that in the mastermind, but just women that are in business and want to serve people well, to bounce ideas off of and get feedback. And how does that play into the conversation for you? Because I see that facilitating them, but you at the table with your experiences and asking questions, how has the conversation within the mastermind helped you and your business grow?
This is, for me, it feels like such a robust answer because I could really go down so many different paths on how it's been helpful. In fact, it would be fun for me to go back and look at every monthly business review and see the trajectory of where things have gone for me. Where I'm at, sitting in a place today, I'm not only reaching goals and I'm exceeding them. And I know that that's because of the steadfast piece of being in the mastermind, that, you're accountable to a group of women that you respect, and you really, their opinions and their feedback are, it's more than taking a class and like needing to get homework done. Like for me, it's an integral part of my business. It's a moving piece of it. And, the women that, essentially come to the table virtually they represent incredible talent in ways that I could never be talented. Copywriters and design, photography. I mean, I feel like in hearing them share what challenges they might be facing or what victories, and then hearing you coaching, because I will say that your coaching coming alongside is a huge piece of it, because then I always walk away learning more than I even knew I was wanting to learn. It's the amount of growth is so big. So yeah, I feel like I could go on and on with an answer there, but I think it's, I mentioned before I was really feeling kind of lost and I didn't have the clarity. And I think that's been the overarching theme for me in being connected in this community is that consistent piece of annual planning that translates to quarterly goal setting, that translates to monthly projects, that translates to weekly tasks. And that's not a natural thing for me. I almost have to remind myself on any given Thursday morning, oh, what's my weekly task? I need to go back to what I said I was going to do. So I've seen a lot. I mean, and consistency, at the end of the day, I think that's true for any business. Hardly anyone is some overnight success story. It's the consistency that's really going to make growth happen. And that's just what is needed to be for my success.
There's two things that I want to touch on that you talked about. One, do you mind sharing a specific milestone that you've achieved within your business over the course of the last 18 months?
Yeah. I mean, specifically because I'm a membership site, it's so natural for me to go by member numbers. It's just the easiest, like how many members do I have today? So at the beginning, this is 2018, at the beginning of 2018, I looked at, well, how many members did I get in 2017? And can I get that plus, 10% more in 2018? So I was trying to do a kind of a conservative number based on how I did the year before. And there's 2 months left in the year, and we hit that goal 2 months ago. So that's an example of a numbers goal that we're seeing, and that's different from revenue or profit. And those goals we're also hitting, but the easiest one, and I say us because my husband's a web developer and he helps me in managing the website. But that's been the most visible goal, is the member number.
Do you think that helped you could help see the progress and track your growth because you had the tools such as the reviews and the goal tracking chart to see that? Did that play a part in it?
Yes. Okay. Because I wouldn't say
I
that
wanted to like ask about the
my,
reviews since you mentioned them. Like, were you
yeah.
surprised when you came on board that we had monthly reviews, and like how did you respond to that? Like, how has
Yeah.
that impacted you?
Yeah. I like I said, it's not homework. I like homework. So I think when I signed on, I was like, oh, I've got a little worksheet. I'm going to work on this little sheet here. But I think pretty quickly I saw that it wasn't for you. I wasn't
Mm.
submitting homework to you. I think pretty quickly I saw that the whole point of this is for me to see, to be honest with myself and not answer things that felt good or things that I wanted to have happen, but to really maybe get a little more vulnerable and be like, this is a really weak area that I'm just not pushing through. Um, so if I went back and looked at those reviews, I think too, before I joined, I don't know that I had I do know that I did not have clear analytics of how many people I gained the month before. I kind of did like a little budget here and there, and I knew what number I wanted to get to, but I wasn't truly saying, well, how many members am I gaining? How many am I losing? What's the churn? I didn't have those markers. So I think having the monthly reviews helped me to really put those numbers into writing. And then beyond just how many members do I have, I was able to start making correlations on what was working and what wasn't working. And I think before that, I was really shooting from the
Well, thank you for that feedback.
hip. Yeah.
I want to comment as far as the comment that you made specifically about the homework aspect of it, and that it's not for me, even though I'm the one that's creating the worksheet and giving it to you guys. Like, it's really for you. And I'm so glad that you acknowledge that and see that, because it's a tool for you. Yes, it's part of the accountability factor as far as tracking progress and growth within your business. But at
Mm-hmm.
the end of the day, like, you're the one that knows the truth within your business. And so
Yeah.
how you choose to respond to those is going to impact the results that you see in your business. And
Mm-hmm.
what you were saying, like the correlation between, okay, if I'm not seeing growth here or the results that I want, why is that? And
Mm-hmm.
what do I need to do? And so those questions within, like the intentional questions built into the reviews and like the Fresh Start Weekly help with that. So I love hearing your take on that and your experience with it.
Yeah.
Looking back, knowing what you know now and your experience with a mastermind, what do you think could have happened if you didn't join a mastermind when you did?
Yeah. I think I would have started a lot of projects that I couldn't finish, or I would have tried to finish them and just burned out. Um, I don't know that I would have totally quit, but I don't think I'd be
Mhm.
having fun. I don't think it'd be as fun as it is. I think I would hit some of these goals that I'm reaching, but I think it would have taken me a lot longer and probably more haphazardly. I'm reaching a point in my business now where I can see where scale could happen, and the things that I need to be putting in place now to allow that, rather than cleaning up a bunch of stuff later or something like that. So I think without these 18 months in the mastermind, even if I was growing, I think it'd be pretty messy, which would be difficult to hire people, outsource things. So I'd be growing, but having a hard time passing things off, or yeah, I think it just wouldn't be nearly as fun or semi put together as it is. I say semi because I'm never going to say it's perfectly put together, because I don't think anyone ever does, but it certainly wouldn't be in the state of health that it is.
The fun part. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Just because I love our conversations and the energy that comes from them.
So
Meeting
fun.
like at a minimum once a month, but then check in every other week. and between the mastermind meetings. And I think just like the conversation of where you get to relax, but also like have the challenging conversations, like it adds energy and fire to what we do. Like there's other people going through the same things that we're going through, or even if it's not identical, like the emotions sometimes are still the same as far as the fear or the frustration or the excitement, depending on like what's happened recently.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
What?
I think, sorry to jump in there. I was just going to mention that um, I think when I said I was looking for some sort of a community and I was going to different groups in person, I was trying to find different things. I think another thing that I've learned about the mastermind is that I may have been looking for a social connection, like people that understood where I was at. And it's absolutely that. And yet it's just so much more. Like it's not a social club, but it's also really fun and social. So it's what I was looking for and so much more, but it's so much fun.
Thank you. Well, and I think that's the thing is like you want to have fun when you're working, because when you're having fun when you work, you're more creative, you're more productive. Like to what you were saying earlier, you're less likely to burn out because you have a place where you can go and have the conversations and get the feedback, know that you're not alone, and then find ways to be energized. Whereas I think if it was, in my perception, if it was just solely socializing or networking, like you don't have the same challenge factor or the same vulnerability when you're discussing things within your business that require you to grow.
Truth. And I do think it's not necessarily a networking situation. I have hired people within our mastermind for projects or their expertise, but that's not the primary agenda of why everyone's together. And I think that's a unique difference than some sort of a networking event where people are walking in with their business cards in hand for good reason, but that's not necessarily the situation. We want to support one another, but that's secondary.
I agree. What has been your favorite parts during your time with us?
This might embarrass you a little bit, but Melissa really is my favorite part. I know, because you're a wealth of knowledge. I really love like sometimes I know you wait for other people to give input to allow a chance for everyone to give each other feedback. And it's wonderful because everyone's input is so invaluable. They're looking at it from different angles. And I always get off those phone calls with a million ideas in my head in the exciting way, not in the overwhelming way, but in the, oh my gosh, this is so fun. But then Melissa kind of comes in with her expertise in coaching, and it's so fun to watch whenever you get excited and ignited and what you can bring out. And I think too, probably too, because my background is nutrition, it's not business. And so I'm always learning when it comes to these areas of my business because they're not natural, but certainly in some of the maybe more overarching, like you're able to look at the bigger picture, why a handbook and policies and procedures, like why those things matter, and the consistency and the annual goals. And that's, I'm not used to taking a bigger look at a business as a whole. So for sure, I think you're one of my favorite parts, not only because you're fun, but just truly the expertise value, because you're getting a coach alongside a mastermind. I could have gone and hired a coach and I wouldn't have gotten the mastermind, or I could have gone and joined a group and not gotten the coach, but it's a marriage of both. And then I love hearing from everyone else. I love the input from everyone. I love seeing everyone. And we all joke about when we're all going to get together, like for some big weekend. And I really think we will one day.
I will, thank you for the kind words. I appreciate it. And I love helping. And I think to what you were saying earlier, there's no expertise at the table in our mastermind, that we all have something to offer. And what helps our relationships is because we keep and stay connected, not just during the mastermind, but outside of the mastermind, whether it's asking questions within the academy, or if it's online, like just sending each other DMs on social media, things that keep the connection alive, so that like it's not just business to business. Like we see each other as whole people and what we enjoy personally and professionally. So there's that connectiveness. And I think that really helps us, one, have a lot of fun, because we don't just like, it's not a front. And because we know each other, then it's easier to share and open up and be vulnerable to the extent that we need to within the mastermind.
Absolutely.
And I think that also, for those of you watching, because we've established such great relationships over time, we can read each other's faces and our body language. So Steph can easily, I can just see her reactions when I make a face without realizing it. And I enjoy that because, again, that's where we all grow, because we can read each other at that point, but also that we have that trust and that rapport, which is so important when you're having hard conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the trust is huge, because it is. There are certainly times where I've come not feeling ready to share a problem because it felt too vulnerable, and I would share it anyway, and I'd have to be prepared for the honest feedback. I had one blog post that I just wanted to get done, and I just posted it, and I knew it wasn't good, and I didn't want to share it with the mastermind, but for whatever reason I did anyway. But you're exactly right. It's because I trusted, because of that trust. I really didn't want to share it, but I shared it, and it was as bad as everyone said, as I thought it was, and the feedback was not pretty because it wasn't good. But then out of that came an incredible amount of help and recommendation, to where now it's like one of my best posts on the site. So
That's awesome.
So the trust is huge, because even in the moments where I'm like, maybe I'll share this thing that's kind of hard, that I kind of need help with, or I could share this thing that like is really not any good and get so much more out of it.
Well, kudos to you for sharing, because that's the hardest part.
You learn to do it anyway.
The other thing that I love that you mentioned also too, is that even with the feedback, that the feedback was constructive, and it wasn't just the constructive as far as like, we're telling you what we would change about it, but we also offer help as far as to lift and build you up, because we want the best for you. And I think that's a really important dynamic, because it's really, you can go into any conversation and receive feedback about what you could have done better, but there's a different level of what you could do better, and here, let me help you make it better.
Right.
And that's because we want to see each other excel in our businesses.
Absolutely.
So, glad you see that and have experienced that.
Yes.
What would you tell other women or small business owners about joining a mastermind? What advice would you give them?
I think the biggest piece of advice I could give is to take it so seriously, to go all in and truly make it a part of your business. Like logging in for 2 hours on the first Tuesday of the month, or if it's a check-in, those hours are, for me, not even just as important as doing work, but maybe like more important than doing work. I think when I see it as an integral part of my business, it's almost like, I should be careful using this terminology, but like a board of advisors in a way. Like if I, sat down with a board of people and wanted to run ideas by them, then I would make that a priority if I had a group of people that were willing to sit down and give me feedback about my business. So I think just treating it seriously, being present, being active, being honest. Like I said, being honest and vulnerable if you have to bring things in, that it's not just another class or a social group, but it really is. For me, it's a much more integral piece of my business. And I think by doing that, it's incredibly natural for me now. Whenever I am working and I hit a roadblock, it's so natural for me to think, I wonder what everyone else would say, rather than I wonder what my husband would say. I wonder what my Friend would say, like, those things used to be more natural for me to think, like, I'm going to go ask this person. But it's even more natural for me to ask, essentially my team, even though I am still a solopreneur. I am the one that makes the decisions and does the work. But yeah, so that's what I would say is just, go all in. And yeah, and it's not homework if you look at it as it really is for you. It's not always the flashy stuff of business, like if I just always followed the shiny things, like what's new, what's trending on Instagram, then I wouldn't be making money. So, I mean, to be honest, so I think, going all in and staying steadfast and consistent, and even if sometimes the meetings are really fun, but sometimes the sitting down and writing down policies and procedures, or whatever the situation might be, they may not feel as flashy, but they're the ones that really hold your business.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. And I've so enjoyed having you as part of the Mastermind community and our conversations. Grateful for what you bring to the table. And if you yourself are interested in joining a mastermind, just visit our website at www.littleblackdesksociety.com. And we would love to have you join us and grow your business and be connected with women like Stephanie, who are here to support you and challenge you and help you excel in business. So thank you for being here today. Thank you, Steph.
Thanks.